All right. Hi, everyone. My name is McBride. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I currently work for the traveling school as the program and development assistant, but I am also an alumna of the 22nd semester of the traveling school. So that at this point is about 8 going on 9 years ago. And that semester was in Southern Africa. So I would be happy to answer any alum questions as well, but I think Maya and Mozelle will have, because they're our most recent alum, will have some great insights as well. And I am based out of Bozeman, Montana. And should we start with Maya?
Hi, my name's Maya. I use she, her pronouns. I am from Moortown, Vermont, and I was on semester 36 in the fall with Mozelle. Is there anything else I need to share?
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
My name's Mozelle. I'm from Bozeman, Montana. I was also on TTS 36 with Maya through the Western United States. I'm a junior, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thanks to y'all for being here tonight. Quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. I'll give a brief intro to the traveling school, or TTS as we like to abbreviate it. Most of you, as mostly accepted students among us, probably have a pretty good idea of who we are and what we do, but I'll just give a brief overview anyways. And then we will do our student spotlight with Maya and Mozelle. We'll give them a chance to share some of their stories from the field. And then we will open up the floor to everyone for questions. And as we keep rolling through the slides, feel free, if questions pop up, you don't have to wait till the very end. Feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you are feeling a little shy about chatting it to everyone, feel free to send that straight to me in the chat. So we'll start with this quick quote from one of Maya and Mozelle's classmates, Ellie. One of their literature assignments was, I believe, writing love poems, and she wrote a really beautiful piece. So I'll just read it briefly. To my future TTSers, I wish you could fall in love with TTS just like I did. I wish you could fall in love with the rustle of your tent at 11 p.m. blown by the wind as you lie awake after camp has gone quiet and the last headlamps have been extinguished. I wish you could fall in love with the hum of flies and the bugling of an elk from across the river as we bend over our homework during nightly study hall. Don't let fear of leaving home, of being away from your friends, stop you. I believe in you, and I know you're brave enough. So thank you to Ellie for that. I think it's really nice to kind of get you in the traveling school mindset and give you a taste of what you could be seeing every night. So the traveling school, our mission right here is amplifying girls' voices through transformative education to ignite positive change. And we do that in a number of ways that you'll be able to see right down there on the right. So anywhere between 10 and 16 students on your semester, depending on the year, 15 weeks all traveling together, 5 place-based courses. So you're learning where you are, and the Western US has just so much to offer. So we're incredibly excited to be here. And, you know, for those of us based out of Bozeman, which is where the traveling school office is in Montana, it's kind of our, very own backyard. 4 teachers traveling with you as you go, 1 backpack, no technology, a very exciting and kind of sometimes daunting aspect of the traveling school. And as this mentions, infinite classrooms. So let's take a look at what a typical day on the traveling school could look like. We say typical in quotes there because there really is no typical traveling school day. One day to the next is completely different, and sometimes that's a little bit of an adjustment to get used to, but you could be maybe taking a full day of classes one day, and then the next day you launch your river trip. So it really, it just depends on the day. And we do have our itinerary mapped out but give our teachers a fair amount of flexibility to choose different items, different places as they go. So if something spontaneous and amazing is happening while you're in Utah, you know, you're not locked in necessarily to, oh, we can't take a detour and go see that amazing thing. So I'm wondering, Maia, Mozelle, whoever feels called to speak first, if y'all could maybe tell us a typical or not so typical traveling school day that really sticks in your mind as particularly memorable or just a fun experience.
One day for me that felt like a TTS day, but not a typical day, was the first morning waking up on our backpacking trip in the Bears Ears in Utah. And we had been really concerned about having enough water to drink on the trip. And then all of a sudden at like 11 p.m., the rain just started and did not stop. And we were up on this big, like rocky clearing, camping, and tents were getting blown and everything was wet all night. And we woke up, packed our bags, got out to breakfast, and they were like, we are not leaving. We can't leave. The canyon is too full of water. And so what was going to be a hike day with 3 classes spaced out between hikes became sitting in our tents, like sharing sleeping bags over our feet, sitting on our mats, trying to do some homework. And then once the rain stopped, our science teacher came up to our tents and asked us to come out. We walked down into the canyon, and we had a completely like unplanned science class for almost an hour and a half down in the canyon. And we'd been talking about water systems in the desert like the entire 2 weeks leading up to that, maybe. And she had wanted us to observe water, and we were like, well, we haven't really seen any water in the canyon, so that'll be hard. And we kind of had to use our imaginations. And then all of a sudden it rained, and we found the stream at the base of the canyon, and a group of probably 4 of us just followed the water, like climbed through the rocks and followed upstream to where the water came from. And like, I learned just in following the water for 15 minutes with my friends so much more about the water system in the desert than I ever would have sitting in a room, no matter how long the teacher lectured about it. And that moment, I just remember thinking, wow, I'm learning so much. I'm loving it. And it doesn't really feel like work. And then we came back down the stream and we had a discussion about it. And then went back up and reflected. And the rest of the day was spent reading an amazing piece by Terry Tempest Williams about land rights and the water that was our history teacher kind of just pulled out as a combination of history and English class that was also connected to our science lesson for the day. And to me, that's TTS. That's like our teachers taking what happens in the moment and not just like responding to make sure that we have some learning throughout the day, but actually making it like more enriching than was even planned for. And also still connecting every class. Like all of our classes that day were so intertwined. And I think I learned a lot more because everything was more connected and we were so involved in learning.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Maia. I feel like that spontaneous nature of classes sometimes just happening because there's a learning opportunity is one of the greatest things that the traveling school has in our back pocket. Mozelle, do you have anything you want to add? Any day that comes to mind?
Yeah, so mine, it speaks more to like the community of TTS, not so much like the classes, I guess. But I just remember like, I think it was our first day when we arrived in Chaco Canyon. It had been like a pretty long drive there. And we just like, had to get, I think the most typical thing we do on TTS is like moving from place to place, and you get in a pretty good rhythm of like packing the vans, unloading the vans, setting up the tents, like all of that stuff. And so we were just like doing our normal thing, like setting up camp and everything. And then cook crew like prep dinner. And then we had like, because we were at a camp, we don't we didn't usually go to much campsites, and we couldn't have a whole lot of fires just because the West is in a big drought and it's fire season. But in Chaco Canyon, we were allowed to have a fire. So we had like a nice bonfire. I think one of the girls, Emery, was leader of the day, and her and like this girl Harmony just acted out this like crazy, like, I don't even know what it was, like some like hilarious improv scene. And it was just like kind of like one of those perfect movie moments, I would say, which is like the fire and like the stars are beautiful, and like we're just like eating and like laughing and like having fun. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mozelle. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I've somehow muted myself again. But moving on. There we go. All right, moving on from our typical atypical day. Let's take a look at where your home can be. So this is a picture from Maya and Mozelle's semester. Where exactly was this, y'all? No, here's your backpacking trip.
That's in Bears Ears. We were split into 2 different groups, so I think that's Maya. Is that your group, or is that?
That's your group, but
Okay,
that
was
is,
my group.
it's like just downstream from the story that I told
Ah, amazing.
on the same day.
Great way to connect the place to the story. So this could be your home on a traveling school semester for a night, or something a little bit more conventional, like a hostel shared with your classmates, also home, or a rustic cabin for the night if you're getting out of the elements and away from the tents, or more tents. Tents are always going to be a thing on your traveling school semester. And as Ellie mentioned, you get used to the rustling of those tents and falling asleep under the stars. And hey, there's Mozelle again. So a little bit more about our application process is still open. We do have rolling admissions right now. Again, I think most folks are already accepted students, but for any questions, please feel free to email that email address right down there in the left corner. And if you want to stay up to date about what's going on with the traveling school, feel free to follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @thetraveling_school. Pretty easy to find us. So I think we should jump right into stories from the field. Let's see. I'm wondering if, let's start with Mozelle this time. How did it feel for you to be unplugged from technology? So away from your phone for 15 weeks. What did you learn about yourself in the process too, if you can add to that?
Yeah. It was definitely super weird, like the first couple of days, because I didn't know anybody, and normally in like those awkward situations you just like get on your phone and kind of like do your own thing. And not having technology, I really helped bring our, like, it's how we became close so fast. And it just like, I don't know, it just created such a better community than I thought I was going to have. Like, I knew I was going to have this amazing experience, everything, but like having no technology just like really made it better than I ever expected it.
Awesome, thank you. And Maya, did you have a similar experience, or what was your experience moving away from technology, you know, not having a phone, a laptop with you on semester?
It was interesting for me because I hadn't had my phone the entire summer. I work at a summer camp where phones don't happen. So it was interesting because I felt like I was kind of an outsider watching other people join something I'd been doing for a while. But I think because our days at TTS are so packed, I really realized like, wow, there's so much time in a day when you don't have technology. And especially since I've come back, it's just like, wow, we were doing things all day, every day. And I never felt like I was like wasting time. But I also never really felt burnt out. And I think you just kind of learn to use the like actual humans around you as resources rather than like just resorting to, I don't know, texting someone or just like Googling something or and I find that now when I'm in public, like all my non-TTS friends are just like waiting in line on their phone and I'm standing there like I don't want to I don't want to be those people that we saw while we were on semester. And yeah. So I loved it.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, a little bit of a perspective shift. That was great to hear. I think another huge aspect of the traveling school life, besides, being tech free for your time on semester, is just how important your teachers are, because your teachers they're not just your teachers, they're your mentors, they're your co-chefs when you're in the kitchen, they're just everything. So I'm wondering if Maya or Mozelle, you can share what makes a traveling school teacher so special, or at least different from maybe your homeschool teachers. And if you have any specific stories you want to share about your teachers, feel free to.
I've been thinking about this for the past couple of weeks as I'm like still adjusting back into normal school. Because like I think the reason why I don't like some of my teachers right now is because there's that like barrier of like teacher and student, and like you don't like cross this line. But on TTS you do cross that line in a sense, like you're living with them 24/7, you're cooking with them like you mentioned, and like you just like get to know them on a personal level, which makes me personally like them even more as a teacher, and like hear like stories and stuff they've experienced, and you're like, wow, like these people have like so much experience, even though they're still like, I guess, other like young females, but they just have like so much knowledge to offer you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is like they're there with you all the time. And most of the TTS teachers, all of ours on our semester were way younger than all of my public school teachers. And I think that just that made a big difference. And also having them all be women, and seeing like how amazing they are, like how much they've done. Most of them were like 26, 28, and like there are a couple of years since they graduated college and they've already done so much amazing stuff. And after TTS, they're really good connections to have too. Like they're there if you need someone to like ask about a like college thing or an interview or something. And they were like you have a mentor on TTS, so they're like your person while you're there. So they're really helpful with that. And I think like not, especially during COVID, teachers kind of became like behind a screen, just like sending all these assignments. And to me, I'm in online college right now, so it just kind of feels like this person who doesn't know who I am, doesn't know my context, and I have to email them and be like, I had a really hard week and I can't get any of this done. When I was on TTS, my teachers knew what my week would be like, and it was the same as all the other students, and like they could support me if I was struggling in something, and like actually see like, oh, I'm not just sitting there watching Netflix and not doing your class. Like I'm actually doing my best, and they're there, and they see that, and they see us all as people, and like adapt things as we need them.
Yeah, absolutely. Do either of you have a particular moment where you realize like, oh, my traveling school teachers are so much more than just like here to assign me things to do?
I guess I just have a fun story about one of our teachers, Becky. She was my mentor, and we made up like a saying about her because she was our science teacher, and she would kind of just like walk off. I mean, she would tell the other teachers where she was going, but she would like walk off and just kind of like go explore the area. And so we came up with a saying. Becky goes where Becky goes, no one knows where Becky goes. And it was just like she would do like weird stuff like that, and she would find like nature nuggets and then bring them in and like connect them to like science and whatever we were learning. And like one time when we were unloading the van, we like found this like jar of like weird liquid, and we're like, what is this? And Becky was like, oh, I'm making some kombucha, and just like stuff like that. She picked like juniper berries, I think, and made juniper berry tea one time. She was just like super resourceful and a really cool lady. And I loved having her as my mentor too. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I know I can speak from the perspective of, being almost 9 years out from my traveling school semester at this point. And I'm still in touch with my teachers, and they continue to serve throughout college, as wonderful mentors and resources because, they do have, like Maya and Mozelle were saying, those lived experiences, and know you so well at the end of those 15 weeks together. Let's see. I think let's do one more and then open it up to other questions. I know, Maya, when you were talking about your teachers, you mentioned it was impactful that they were all women as well. Do y'all want to speak a little bit to the influence that being among in an all-female environment had on your experience, and maybe how that differed from your homeschool?
I think it made a huge impact. I was definitely concerned about, like, I was like, it's going to be weird, all girls, what's it going to be like? I don't really know what I was expecting. But I've always been like intimidated by like all girls college. I was like 4 years, just all girls. That sounds like a lot. And then I came home and applied to 9 all girls schools for college, because it was in the classroom. I think everyone felt so much more definitely mature and engaged. And throughout the entire semester, I think everyone just we had a really supportive community, and I felt like I was able to be more vulnerable in like speaking in class, and also like sharing if something felt uncomfortable, like in a social situation. And every Friday night we have a circle time as a group, and then as needed we'll have more, where we just talked about lots of different things. And I think it kind of just made me realize, like, okay, yeah, we can do things as women and don't need men in the classroom or the world to like support us in that in any way. Um, and that became really clear when we visited I think about 2/3 of the way through, we stayed at a boarding school for about a week, and we were with a group of students there, and there were only 4 boys in that whole group. There were like 25 of us, and all of us were just like, whoa, that's what high school boys are like. And really frustrated by it. And then at the same time we were like, oh, there are 11 of us and we totally know how to handle this. And like, there were so many people that week that I was so proud of speaking up, and I think they wouldn't have felt that confident to speak up if they didn't have the prior experience of the group. And I definitely feel like I'm just so much more confident after being in that environment.
Awesome, thank you. Mozelle, yeah, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just another story. We stayed at this place called Design Build Bluff in Bluff, Utah, which is like a grad school architecture program, and we were like eating dinner with these grad students, and I think most of them were girls, but there were just a couple of guys, and we were asking them questions like about what they do, and like only like the 3 guys would be the only ones to answer, and they were like, oh, I don't really have a whole lot of experience in this. And there was like a girl sitting like a couple chairs away from him who like had gotten her master's and was like in architecture and like knew all the answers, but he like kept dominating the conversation. And Ellie, who wrote that quote, just like her face, like she would look at us and she'd be like, oh my god, like this is what it's like it was like funny to like see her reaction, but also like just a realization, because like when you're taken out of that environment of like, I guess, a co-ed classroom and put in like an all-female environment, like Maya was saying, you're like more confident speaking up, and like you say your what you're thinking more often. So then to be like put back in that situation, you really notice like the difference between the two.
Absolutely. I can also say similarly to what Maya was saying, I never really envisioned myself doing like another all female learning environment post traveling school. And then I actively sought it out when I was looking for colleges, and ended up in a year-long women's leadership program for my first year of college, which felt like a really beautiful way to kind of extend that TTS community. And that, let's see. Well, thank you so much to Maya and Mozelle for those questions. I think we have one or two questions in the chat, but if anybody wants to either unmute and ask their question or pop it in the chat, now is the time, because I tried to ask some good questions, but I know you may have some additional ones. So feel free.
I have a question. I was wondering how you did your laundry, because I looked at the packing list and I was like, you take what, 2 shirts, 3 shirts? And I was wondering how you would clean them. So yeah, that's my question.
That's a great question. Maya or Mozelle, do either of you feel passionate about responding to the laundry question?
I think we do our laundry like once a week or once every 2 weeks at most, and you get really used to like wearing the same outfit like multiple times before you wash it and everything. And we would, because they do a pretty good job of like planning where we're gonna go, to be like, okay, like every week or so we're gonna be at a place that has laundry. And like we stayed at like some campgrounds, or like campgrounds that like trailers could also park at, that had like laundry facilities. And worst comes to worst, we would just go to like a laundromat or something. I think we did that once, I think, and just did our laundry that way. But it's not, you're not gonna have like super stinky clothes. They're gonna get a little stinky, I feel like, just because you're doing so much and you're wearing them all the time, but it's totally like doable.
And I would say like I was like, oh my gosh, 1 pair of shorts. What? Like that doesn't make any sense. So I kind of like would bring like the max amount of things that was suggested. And there were things I didn't wear. Like there, you will like, if you bring what's on the list, you will be fine. And I don't think you're gonna like miss having like an abundance of options. Like it's weird to get your mind around before you go, and then you're there and everyone else also has 2 shirts, and you figure it out. I would just say definitely like bring enough underwear, but everything else is like you'll figure it out.
I would
Thank you.
I think that's a great question, Ella. I think on my semester a while back, we did a lot of hand washing, and it was honestly a really great way it was just a great way to encourage personal responsibility, because if you didn't take your own time and advocate for yourself to go away from the group, and even if it was in like the campground bathroom and do a little bit of sink washing, you got a little stinky, like Mozelle said. But thank you for those answers, Maya and Mozelle. It is kind of funny concept to imagine. Let's see, we got Emma, great question. Can we bring disposable cameras? Yes. You can bring, I would be interested to hear the cameras, if any, if Maya and Mozelle brought. You just can't bring a camera phone. So I brought a little point and shoot camera on my semester. A number of girls brought disposable cameras. Maya, Mozelle, do y'all have anything to add to that?
The camera I had was like a little like bigger. It looked more like a professional camera. It was kind of a lot to carry around, and like I had to constantly make sure that it was like okay. And I didn't bring it on our backpacking trip. I actually brought a disposable camera, I was thinking about bringing a disposable camera like for the entire semester and like bringing multiple. But what I eventually decided against that, because you'd have to like carry those around for the entire, like even after you've taken all 27 photos on them, you'd have to carry it around for the rest of the semester. And it just kind of I know one of my bags just got like super messy at the end because I was really unorganized with all my stuff. So just keep that in mind if you do want to bring disposable cameras, the fact that you have to carry it around.
I also bought a larger digital, and I actually wasn't going to bring it because I thought it was going to get broken or damaged. And then I had my parents mail it to me because I wanted it so badly. And like when we went on trips, I just left it in the van if I was worried about it getting damaged. And that was fine. But I would say, like, if you're, this would really be a question for our friend Claire, who made this video that's been showing, but she's a videographer and photographer. And I think this definitely like boosted her portfolio in some ways to be able to take those photographs. And for all of us, it's so meaningful to have the photos and videos of the experience. We were just talking before about how her video on YouTube has 340 views, and it's mostly just our 11 semester students rewatching this video. So it's definitely, it feels important to have those memories in some way, but someone will take photos.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our teachers do have phones. So they'll be documenting from their end as well. But great question. And we have another one just popped into the chat. Another good question. How long are you usually in one spot? That can really vary. And I think maybe Maya or Mozelle, if you want to maybe speak to this, because obviously my itinerary when I went was a little bit different than the Western US. How long would y'all say you were usually in one spot, or were you moving around quite a bit?
It was usually never, it was rare that we would be in a place for one night, but that did happen. And it was never more than 5 nights, which only happened twice. So it was usually around 2 to 3 nights per location, maybe 4. Do you agree, Mozelle?
For those
Yeah.
longer ones, what were those? Were those your rafting trips, your backpacking?
Yeah, like the rafting and backpacking trips, it's because it was like backpacking and rafting, we were like constantly at a new like camping place every day, but like we were doing the same thing. So like I guess, like we would raft for a day and then stay there at night and then go the next morning. So we were on the same river, but still a different spot. The longest we were in a place was our last place. I think it was like a week and a half. It was 10 days in Prescott. And that just felt like forever because like we were like so used to being in a place for only like 4 days or something. So you get really used to it. And I think like 3-4 days is a good time to like be in a place and like do the stuff that you like want and like soak it up and then like move on to the next place.
Yeah, I think 4 was the longest. We were in the same tents, and then anything longer than that, we were in beds inside somewhere. And that might be different for the spring semester because it's a lot colder. So I know that they were planning on being inside more. So anyone going in the spring, that might be a little different. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And let's see, looks like we have another one. Okay, let's see. Oh, Patricia, which grades were you in when you joined the traveling school? I was a junior in high school. Maya, what about you?
I am a senior. I was a senior. And I didn't go back to my high school, which I completed my credits for January, which I would recommend if you're a senior, try and do that, because in my opinion, going back for one semester feels kind of weird because you're still in the transition, like going back to your old high school. But I also can see that happening. And then just do your college, as much of it, like know where to apply as much as you can before August, because December is a lot when you're coming back home and applying to college. But I did it, and I'm happy to help anyone else who did it, who wants to do it. And it's totally doable. I just accepted college. So like, you're good. But yeah.
Yeah, I was a junior, so I did it last semester, so I'm still a junior, but yeah.
We do find that our range is typically from sophomores to seniors. And I don't know if this was true for y'all's semester on TTS 36, but we get about, I would say, a bulk of juniors with a handful of sophomores and seniors. Let's see. Okay, another one. And then I think we are kind of reaching the 45-minute mark, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time. What was the hardest thing about leaving home and heading out on a traveling school semester?
I think for me, I think I cried. Well, there was like a lot of crying before leaving for TTS, but like I was really scared coming into TTS just because there was like a bunch of those like what if scenarios, like, oh my God, what if like I don't get along with them? What if they don't like me? Like, what if blah blah blah? And it's like it's really hard to like calm those thoughts down. And it really helped because our first night we did like hopes and fears, I think. So like we all wrote down like anonymous things and they were read out loud, but like our hopes and fears, and it helped to know, and everyone pretty much had similar hopes and similar fears. And so I guess it's just like that helped calm my nerves, and just like I was in a group of 3 my first night, and just like talking to them right away and being like, oh my God, like I'm so excited, but like I'm kind of nervous about this, like breaking down those walls right away and like voicing what you're scared about. Because like I think it, like personally, like if you're scared about something and you're thinking about it and someone else says that they're scared about that, you're like, oh, like I'm scared about that too, like we're in the same boat, like we can get through this together, kind of thing.
Me too. And also I think I realized the first couple of days we were all obsessed with asking our teachers, like, what happens next? Where are we going? Because we really didn't have an itinerary. We were the first US semester, so things were really unpredictable. And the teachers didn't tell us anything they told us the first week. And then soon it became like we didn't know about the next day until that night. And you get so used to that really quickly. But in the beginning, it was like really, for me, really scary. I'm a person who like plans everything out. So I was just like, what are we doing tomorrow? I have to know. So in some ways that was scary. And in a lot of ways, it taught me so much about just kind of letting go and letting someone else take over for a little bit. And I would say when you're on TTS, as much as you can, like this is your last chance to, at least for our generation, like be away from social media, be away from COVID, like let someone else lead your life before you be an adult in a pandemic, and like just enjoy it. And the teachers are amazing. They'll get you through it.
That's awesome. Thank you both. I think those are both incredibly common fears as you're getting ready for a semester. I know I personally didn't have much experience in the outdoors before my traveling school semester, so I hadn't really been camping. I'd done some hiking, but not, extended backpacking trips. And I thought everybody around me was going to be like running up the mountain, just in it to win it. But it was, we take it one step at a time. You work your way up to those longer backpacking trips. And there were plenty of people on my semester who had also never slept in a tent. So I think that's a common fear as well. But let's see, do we have any last questions either in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself real quick before we part ways? All right. Well, beautiful. And you can always, again, if you have follow-up questions, you can reach out to that email address that we had on that last slide. And this session has been recorded and will be available up on the admissions and events page on our website. And you'll be able to access a couple of other admissions panels as well if you have more questions, or you just want to hear perspectives from other students, and including, I believe, Maya, you were on one that included a TTS 36 teacher. So if you want to hear what Megan has to say, hop over to that site. otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time this evening. And I hope you're just as excited about the traveling school, if not more so, than when you entered this evening. Thank you again for your time. And thanks so much to Maia and Mozelle. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom with us. So have a great evening, everyone. And again, you can reach us in a number of ways if you have more questions, but thanks for your time.